Hello, good evening, and welcome, ladies, gentlemen, and those who identify otherwise, for yet another highly anticipated season of GT3 sprint racing here on Tuesday evenings on the Sim Racing International YouTube channel. What a mouthful to say, I must say. Nevertheless, the 11th season is about to kick off this evening at the wonderful virtual circuit de Catalunya, as the weather outside have turned into perfect sim weather conditions. Long, dark nights, grey days with lots of rain and wind, especially in the northern part of Europe. It's horrendous at the minute, but nevertheless, sim racing season is upon us. So what could possibly go wrong? It is the greatest time of year as we get ready for this season. Of course, the 11th 5 rounds we are looking into. Starting off at Barcelona, of course, some sort of track guides are laying in the background. We actually already have it. Wonderful. We have to get used to this stuff again. Starting off here at Barcelona. Before we go to Suzuka for round 2, we'll get into the formats of the races later on as well. Donington Park round 3, Nurburgring round 4, and then in about 10 weeks' time, roughly, we'll be racing for the final time this season at the wonderful Monza, the Temple of Speed. As you have probably noticed on the right-hand side, the races are not of equal length. 60-minute races and 75-minute races. In the 60-minute races, you do have the mandatory pit stops where you have to take the tires, which means no saving whatsoever. All the drivers will be on their absolute maximum throughout the entirety of the race. No need to think about the tires, no need to think about the fuel, just racing. The 75-minute races, though, they offer a little bit of a strategic element as well, as the drivers only mandated to take fuel in their pit stop, which means that you could potentially go for the half and half strategy, boxing halfway through, taking the tires, having half fuel in the car from the start, half to the end. You could also fuel it up completely at the start of the race and either take an early pit stop to get out of traffic, or run as deep as possible and do the very, very shortest of all splash and dashes. 5 races, of course, 25 points for the winner, 1 drop round this season, which means that the driver's worst result of the season will be scrapped from the points, which is very handy if you get involved in a big-ass crash or you just have some real-life business to take care of on a racing evening. But besides our wonderful Tuesday night sprint championship, we also have other racing going on. The Sunday night championship, where we head into season 2. And I must say, what an amazing championship we had last time. Excitement all the way to the final race where it got decided at a wet quota, a very wet quota, I must say. They already started on the 7th of September. Of course, that's a 10-week championship as well, bi-weekly racing at Mount Panorama. That was a stunning race, I think. Maybe it wasn't there personally, but hey-ho. But anyways, they're going to Snetterton for round 2, Silverstone round 3, Watkins Glen round 4, and then finishing off at Alton. Very, very technical season we have. Of course, already having done Mount Panorama with the mountain section and the walls creeping in all around. Big risk of crashes there. Snetterton being tight and twisty all around. Not the greatest track for overtaking, but technical racing. that's something to look out for. That when the overtakes happen, it's pure magic. Silverstone, British Classic for round 3. Watkins Glen, the mighty American racetrack, round 4, and then Alton Park to round off the season. Usually a place where you see a little bit of rain when we go racing there. Maybe equally technical instead, some with a few overtaking opportunities, a lot of corners that lends to the optical illusion that you can go for a move into the corners, but quite often it ends up with some weird, twisty, argy-bargy stuff when they go for that. Speaking of great racing in GT3, we also have the Endurance Championship that we're trying to get back online this time around. Spa-Francorchamps 12 hours round 1, which would be the 25th of October, that I do believe would be a wonderful Saturday, and it actually is a wonderful Saturday, before heading off to the 20 hours of Silverstone, which is the charity event of this season. We do expect drivers to turn up for that one and just go racing for the sake. We don't need to be in the full championship. Just get in there, do some racing, help us collect money for a good cause against cancer, which is a very, very good cause, of course. Don't know how we forgot that. Nevertheless, Suzuka round 3 in the championship. 10 hours. Technical track. Last time we went endurance racing at Suzuka, it was probably one of the best motor races that I have ever seen. Even though the numbers wasn't particularly great for that one round, it was amazing racing all the way up and down the field. That track just lends itself for the most spectacular of racing. Racing. Watkins Glen round 4, 8 hours, the shortest of the races as we head into the new year. Interesting track to go racing at. We can get more to that when we reach it here in the sprint season, and then finishing off at Paul Ricard with the 12-hour event on the 21st of February, which is a long time into the future, but it means that you have plenty of time to get a team together, of course. Still roughly a month and a few days, month and a week-ish until we go racing at Spa, so teams get signed up, get a car picked, get some epic lyrics done, and let's see you on track for that one. Speaking of GT3 racing, as we also have the LMU Championship, the SLMS Championship, where we only had the mightiest of champions in hypercars last season. A feat that will never be repeated by such a gracious man ever again. Of course, tune in on the 24th of September to find out who that mighty and humble champion was. As we go racing at Fuji for round 1, 60 minutes of racing before heading on to Imola for 90 minutes, Kota 60 again, Qatar for 90, and then rounding out at Portimao 60-minute race. Both hypercars and LMGT3s will take to the track, and that is surely to create some interesting racing situations when these two classes have to navigate the tracks together. And without any of the big long tracks, this will be a very, very interesting season for the multi-class racing. A lot of things to consider when the drivers take to the track and try to control these mighty, mighty beasts. If you haven't checked out LMU yet, then I highly recommend doing so, as it is wonderfully nice to drive. Quite a bit more difficult than ACC if you come from this particular platform, but I think you'll get used to it rather quickly. Speaking of, I just came one page too far, maybe 2 pages too far. Of this season, 18 drivers in the pro class and 12 in the silver class. They will all be on the track together, competing for the overall championship, which is most likely to be won by a pro driver, to be fair. But more interesting are the 2 championship splits. The pro and the silvers have their individual championships, where a lot of fighting will likely start to happen, so we'll be following that all season. It will be indicated in the race as well. We'll see that more when we get into to qualifying, how the number boards work exactly. But surely this will be fun. Big names, of course, follow on from last season, such as Samuel von Liebenstein, Tesh Fredriksson. Wolf Garcia, Jordy Peters, Willie Katonen, Regan Mitchell is still here. A lot of big names in the pro class. A lot of newcomers in the silvers as well. We'll get more familiar with those as we go racing in not an awful long time, as qualifying is surely shortly about to begin out there on track. It actually have started. Wonderful. As you can see in the left-hand side of the screen, there are two types of number boards. You'll obviously have the overall position, then you'll have the driver name, car brand, and then a number next to that. That will be the racing number. The ones that have the white background with the black numbers, that's the pro class. The silver class are indicated by the silver background with the white numbers. Once we go racing, you'll see the green bar next to the numbers. That will turn orange at the start with the number 1 inside it. That will indicate the drivers will have 1 pit stop to go in the race, 1 mandatory pit stop still to go. As it is green, that means that they have cleared all of the conditions, but as we are in qualifying, there are no mandatory stops. Of course, all drivers are allowed to take to the track from the start of qualifying, so mixed class as well here. The drivers will not have to move out of the way of a faster cars approaching from behind if they are on a valid lap. So that surely will be something to behold. And since that have caught people out from time to time, when a quick guy starts a lap a little bit too close to a slower guy, as Odelman seems to be the first driver, will start a flying lap using all of the track available, including the AstroTurf. We did get around to a track guide before this session, but I think we have time for that between the qualifying and race, and we'll just skip the mandatory commercial break, of course. Speaking of the cars on track, both a Bentley and a Lexus have been selected this season alongside a of course, the lone Honda, the McLarens, the BMWs, the Ferraris, the Lamborghinis, the Porsches, the everything that you can think of have been selected, basically. Good to see the Bentley back on track, by the way, as well, and especially the Lexus is one of my personal favorites of all time. Sounds wonderful and drives so different to the other cars that it is truly something to behold. Odelman still looks reasonable on his first lap. That's Van der Kran behind in the red Ferrari. That is a classic livery from him. Same goes for Odelman. Never in doubt when we see these liveries from these, I would say, old school drivers community legends at this point. Driving around, who have been using roughly the same liveries for a long time. They could have changed them, but have chosen to stick with the familiar, which makes our jobs much easier on this side of the screens. Speaking of screens, remember to have your racing tea out there to stay hydrated in this in these cold months. Perfect conditions for racing in virtual Spain at the minute. 25 degrees on the track, 27 in the air. Perfectly sunny, no wind whatsoever. As Van der Kran actually becomes the first driver to set a time, Odelman must have invalidated at some point there, but Van der Kran sets the benchmark of 1:44.2. Italian guy in second and Parties in third initially, but still a lot of drivers yet to come. Fredriksson tops Van der Kran with a 1:43.87. Van Mellis back in the BMW, the Mode 11 BMW, one of the fan favorite teams out there. But choosing the orange iteration of the modern Mode 11 livery. Some say it's become his trademark. Some say he just chose a more visible color to not being rammed into. We'll never know, but the orange does suit the Dutch drivers. As Bas trying to find his way around the track. Currently set 5th. This could potentially be a good season. He changed from the Mustang last season. Not many of those this time around. Actually, I don't think there are any Mustangs this season. Fun to see that that car went from being super selected to not at all. But that car did also struggle on some tracks. Let's see if Bas will massively improve his overall positions with the BMW compared to the Mustang. Whether or not that it was the car or if it was a driver issue. Von Liebenstein have switched from the Honda to the Porsche. Two vastly different cars to drive, but both are somewhat tricky when trying to control them. The Honda obviously doesn't like curbs at all and are very, very loose when you go around. The Porsche with the changing weight distribution as the fuel tank empties. And the agileness into the corners. The latest generation of the Porsche on ACC have been buffed quite a bit since, updated quite a bit since the original 911 and the second generation Porsche that we saw many months ago. They were beasts to drive and really, really tricky. The newest one are quite a bit easier. Still not saying that it's an easy car to drive for people out there getting me confused, saying that you should definitely go for this. Do not go for this if you haven't driven before. Not for amateurs. Tej Fredriksson in the Lamborghini, a car that he have found a lot of success with over the last couple of seasons. Did race the I think Nissan last season, if I'm not mistaken. I definitely think I'm not mistaken. But Fredriksson back in the Lamborghini where he found so much success the last couple of seasons. One of the championship favorites alongside Regan Mitchell. And Von Liebenstein might be an outsider for it if he can string a full season together. But Tej Fredriksson, a guy to keep an eye on in the 92 Lamborghini. Currently leading qualifying the first time, but still 13 minutes to go for those out there new to motor racing. Qualifying a session where the cars are on track, trying to set the fastest single lap time to determine the grid slots, which means the faster you are, the further up the grid you start. If you win qualifying, then you'll start on pole position from the front of the grid, finishing 10th, then you'll be 10th on the grid. Doesn't matter if you win by a second or 10th. It's all about beating the other drivers. Regan Mitchell across the line. Oh, equal to Tej Fredriksson there on provisional pole. Also Regan Mitchell in the old 448 or 488, whatever it is, Ferrari. That's quite interesting to see. Also beautiful car. Car that I found some success with as well. I prefer that honestly also over the modern 296. More fun to drive, and I actually do think that on some tracks it is a bit quicker than the new 296. But Regan Mitchell in a different car than we're used to, an older generation car. Same with Van Liebenstein, the Porsche, and Peters have gone to the top of the timing table with a 143.155. Sassara currently set in 24th in the Honda tricky car to drive. Down there with the likes of the Bentley and the Lexus also in that end of the field. Do love seeing those Hondas. Also quite good livery on the car, I must say. I do like the black and yellow. Went for a little bit of a Honda moment there. Speaking of fun car selections, the mighty Bentley. The Bentley is back, baby. Fun fact about the Bentley, it's the only GT3 car made with right-hand steering, I believe. And I might think that I'm right. Oh, look at that! Getting that big power slide on from the Bentley. For some drivers, it is super distracting when you're used to race the left-hand side or the left side steering cars to go to cars like the Bentley and the GT4 Ginetta, where you're steering them from the right-hand side. Personally, I think it is preferable in race cars to steer them from the right-hand side, as most tracks are clockwise, and you you're sat on the side of the car where you'll have the most apexes nearest to you, but that's obviously a matter of preference. And it never really bothered me changing either between the left and right side steering, but some drivers struggle, especially continental Europeans, as they have never been on the right-hand steered cars. But just look how beautiful that Bentley is. Both the interior, the exterior, just everything about the Bentley screams greatness. What a machine. What a machine. Definitely my favorite car selection this season, the Bentley selection. Maybe people in YouTube chat could tell us what their favorite car selection is as well, or who they are rooting for in this race. And don't say the stewards. Speaking of stewards, as always, these races are post-race stewarded, which means there are no live stewarding involved in these races, but all reported incidents will go to a very, very experienced stewarding team that will take care of it according to the SSRI rulebook. But less than half of qualifying remains. Jordy Peters is on top with Tesh Fredriksson behind. At this point, some drivers could potentially still sneak 2 runs in on fresh tires. Interesting to see how the drivers will strategize that. We have seen qualifying before that some drivers would like to go out early and just fill up the car completely and go the entirety of the session on the 1 tank of fuel and 1 set of tires. Others, they will cut it into 2 halves. Some will go into 3/3. Of course, it'll be weird just doing 1/3, but go into 3/3. Others, they will they'll just basically go out 1 out lap, 1 or 2 flying laps, back in, fresh tires, fuel, back out again. But that's of course different from driver to driver, and some strategy also involves in that, because if you do that, then you could get a run completely ruined by being stuck in traffic. If you're planning on multiple runs, you have a little bit of an easier time adjusting, I would say. If you have a bad lap, then you can back off and ensure yourself that you have the room on the next one. Yeah, both McLaren, Aston Martin and Bentley are British, but still only that Bentley being right-hand drive. I think that's to cater to the customer teams, as most race drivers will all originate from left-hand drive countries, and to make it easier for the gentleman drivers, sort of say, of the customers, then they've chosen the left-hand drive solution. I would assume also a lot of tracks it makes sense to have a left-hand drive in terms of pit stops, because if you have right-hand side, then you'll likely also be on the side of the pit garages, which means that when you open the door, then you open it into the garage where you'll have more mechanics around than you would on the left-hand side. Von Boss improves massively and jumps up to 7th position. Well within the top 10, but still very tight. Top 10 only separated by just over a second at this point. Liquid Catalunya is a track that is known for being reasonably close, as it sort of represents all aspects of racing. You have the high-speed corners, you have the medium-speed corners, and you have the slow corners. So theoretically, if your car works here, it should work everywhere. But let's see about that. Mick Shelikans in a white and purple machine. Do you like those purple race cars? Looks reasonable so far. 2 corners to go from this point through that Mickey Mouse-ish section. That really kills flow on the track. But until start-finish straight we go for Mick Shelikans. Let's see if he jumps up from 21st. No, not really. Not really. Dropped about a 10th there. No, dropped about a 10th there in the finals session, and couldn't really get it on according to what it said underneath his name when he crossed the line, at least. But just look at that traffic behind us. We have hit the 5-minute mark just now. A time where most drivers... this is basically a final call to jump into the pits and then go back out on track and get 2 runs in. For me personally, I usually didn't drive my fastest in qualifying until my 2nd lap. And with lap times above 2 minutes, or well, underneath 2 minutes, but this is roughly when you want to get out on track at the latest. The green and white Mode 11 car of Leonardo Wolf Garcia from 9th position. Ahead of Bas at the minute. Does he jump up to 7 for Wolf Garcia? Good lap there. He does continue in the green and white Mode 11 car. With Garcia and Bas, I think, being the only Mode 11 drivers this season. Oh, well, Travis is around as well. Is he a Mode 11 driver? Oh, he is. He most definitely is. But no Nick Vargas, at least. So there should be some old file somewhere with a really classic Mode 11 Lexus livery used for endurance racing. Which I think they should bring back for Patrick Travers. I think that was a fun looking car. Little big with that tech camo that car manufacturers like to put on their cars when they are testing them before revealing how they actually looks. Even though most people, they can sort of figure it out. As we could maybe ask Nick Vargas, why in the world are you not racing? We kindly would like to know. Oh, he'll be back next race. But what sort of car will you be choosing, Mr. Vargas? We are very interested to know. Which also means we have another championship contender in it. Nick Vargas could potentially come and do some good things. He just have to make sure that he doesn't drop any points at all, as he already had his drop round in the first one here. With Travers with just 2.5 corners basically to go through the slow section, now fully on the throttle. Around, let's see if he can improve from 19th, jumps up to 17th in the silver class. That would be about 5th, I think. Regan Mitchell is that in 3rd position. Fredriksson have improved his lap time and gone quite a bit closer to Jordy Peters. But let's have a look. What can Regan Mitchell do in the older Ferrari, we should say? Because we don't want to offend Chris being an old man. Shout out to the camera crew, consisting of one guy named Chris Hill. Say hi to the cameras, Chris. We all heard that, right? It's not just my head. Ah, it's just my head. Nevertheless, Regan Mitchell, he will have this lap and one more. Let's see if he challenges for the pole this time around. Across the line. And provisional pole for Regan Mitchell at this point. Though all of his competitors are out there on track. But 1:43 to beat. Let's see Tej Fredriksson on his final lap. Just a few car lengths ahead of Regan Mitchell, actually on track. Yeah, we're good as well. Danny, we wish you were here. Yeah, everything is great. And Vargas is not from visiting family, but that's not a clue to what car you're driving, Mr. Vargas, which is what we wanted to see. But Fredriksson navigates. You have done one sector of the track. Currently set in 3rd. It does look like it's a three-man race so far. It's Regan Mitchell's Jordy Peters and Tej Fredriksson, who seems to be duking it out for pole. Van Liemstein would have to find a massive amount of time to do that. Fredriksson bails off. Must have been an invalid lap time. That's Fredriksson out of contention. Samuel van Liebenstein outside chance. And look at that, currently Martin van der Kanne, I think that's an all-time high of 5th position on the grid. Let's see if that sticks as well. A little bit of time lost there from Van Liebenstein, losing a little bit through turn 9. As he comes into the Emperor corner, let's see through that. Didn't look like he got it hooked completely on the apex there. But let's have a look. Comes around, Vargas have confirmed he'll be in the BMW. 2 corners. Well, 2.5 corners to go for Liebenstein. Can he challenge for Regan Mitchell out of contention as well? Jordi Peters still out there on track, by the way. Samuel van Liebenstein across the line. He will go. And not enough to move him up the field at least. Jordi Peters in the white and red. Well, sorry about the color thing, but white and red Porsche. Lion Speed GP looks a little bit like the old Flying Lizard cars, to be honest, but nevertheless, Jordi Peters, can he do it? Less than a 10th to find. Around the final corner he goes and across the line. No! P2 for Jordi Peters. Lost a little bit down the final sector of the track. Ullman jumps up to 9th. Does look like that that will be an all-time high of 5th for Martin van der Kanne. Parties will be the last driver to cross the line, and the last driver still on a valid lap. Rounds the final corner onto the start-finish straight and across the line. He goes up to 17th. Wow, what a qualifying session we had. Close and exciting till the very, very end. But speaking of close and exciting, we never had that wonderful and famous track guide that we usually provide. Which we might have somewhere in the back of our archives. It's been a little while since we've been doing stuff like this, of course. But let's see if we can dig it forward. Here we go. Down the start, finish straight into turn 1 of Elf. Long straight. We'll see that on the start as well. A lot of times to slipstream each other before heading onto the brakes. Not the biggest of braking zones, to be honest, into T1. Sharp-ish corner through the Elf 1 and 2. That would be before we head into the very, very long right hand of Renault. Feels like it just continues to turn when you go into this corner, really punishing for the tires. Before we head into Repsol corner, which some people might remember from Formula 1 when Lewis Hamilton and Nico Rosberg have their coming together up here. Coming around into, well, still in Repsol technically. Sort of a corner that starts sharper than opens up into Seat. The track actually drops quite a bit at this point. You really feel it under the braking and how the cars sometimes have a tendency to start sliding a bit when you go on the throttle here because of the elevation changes through the small kink and into TV3. The left right-hander before we head up to Campas turn 9. This is a very difficult place with track limits. One of the most usual place to go. That turn 9, so difficult. Some drivers just lift off a little bit. Some drivers on the brakes. Really hard to turn into. You go cresting a hill through the corner. It's so important to keep all of your speed because the Emperor corner, very, very good overtaking opportunity. Probably the best on the track. Super sharp double left-hander. Second one just being a very small, but you have to stay all the way to the right to get the best line through Bank Sabadell before heading into to Europe car. Great name for a corner, I must say. Also where the rallycross takes place here around the Circuit de Catalunya, the section that they have taken out of Formula 1 once again got back to the old configuration, but we still have it here before the final corner of New Holland. Pit entry on the right, of course. I did briefly mention the track limits. You can do 3 track cuts, you'll get 3 warnings, and then the 4th one will result in a drive-through penalty. Something that the drivers will have to keep in mind in this one. Hello, Mr. Guy from Argentina. I'm really not trying to butcher that name. That seems Mendoza, I think, would be. Yeah, okay. Maybe not so hard anyway. Hello and welcome. It might not be evening where you are. Humbly apologize for saying good evening earlier, of course. But yeah, 2 minutes left for the drivers before they roll onto the formation lap for the first time this season. This is one of the times that can be a little bit nerve-wracking for some drivers. You're looking through your setup. Maybe you had a special qualifying setup, so you're changing back to your racing setup. Just ensuring that you have loaded the correct thing. Looking at the tire pressures, are they correct for the current temperatures? Are the pit stop strategies set up correctly? How are the electronics set? Is that right? How much fuel is in the car? How much do you want to take when you come in for the pit stop? Will you be doing an undercut? Will you maybe be doing an overcut? All these things in the minds of the drivers, just trying to keep their focus. 1 minute 20 before we start seeing the drivers roll out onto the formation lap. Here the virtual Spanish track, as the virtual fans have turned up in droves on the stand, waving their tiny one-colored flags. That makes perfect sense. A lot of marbles already on the track. It does have a little bit of an effect when you drive onto them. You can feel the pickup underneath the tires. That will cause you to lose a little bit of grip. 40 seconds, this is time where the drivers are getting ready to click that drive button and have the cars jump down. You can see some of the cars bouncing up and down. That's because they're going into their garage settings and then going back to race mode, basically. With all of these beautifully colored cars down the grid. 20 seconds. Tension is rising. The pressure is building. How more dramatic could I possibly be? Quite a bit. Not that we're going that way. As we are off, onto the formation lap goes Regan Mitchell as the lead car in the old beautiful Ferrari, leading the field on for the first time. We can already see the weaving there, trying to warm up the tires. And maybe also getting a feel of whether or not that the steering is correct in the car. Just double checking everything. We might see some drivers accelerating hard and then braking hard to warm up tires and brakes as well, along with the weaving. Another known strategy that's used quite a bit here on ACC is to drive with the foot on the brake as well as the throttle, to generate a lot of temperatures in the brakes, especially when we come onto the final sector of the track before we go racing. I think we'll see a lot of drivers warming up the brakes that way. It's Repsol again. Look at the curbing and the astroturfing there. The edge of the curb, the very left side of the curbs that we saw, that's the track limits. So you can go very wide and take a very aggressive line into Repsol. Also a corner that leans itself for multiple lines when you come into the corner. The optimum line will of course to stay wide and then cut into the apex early, but going for a dive there is quite possible because you stay so far to the left-hand side before turning in, so you do leave the door wide open on the inside. As we're going down through the kink. That curbing on the right-hand side, you see there up the hill, that can be very treacherous if you get a wheel onto that. A wheel a little bit too far out and you will lose a bit of traction. We have seen cars spinning on that curb before. Hopefully we will not see any of that this evening, but it can happen. This is really the time the drivers will have everything sorted. Double checking their MFDs and the pit stop strategies. They know that it will not be long until they get the command to go double file and get ready for the race start. I think it's in about, yeah, well, I was going to say when they go through this corner they get it, but it looks like they might have already gotten it since Peter's are so far up alongside Regan Mitchell. Does look like it as the cars start to bunch up. Through the final couple of corners, I think all cars, they will have cleared this section before we go racing. Oh, well, they most definitely will. Who will get the best start? Who will come out of turn 1 on top? Because, ladies and gentlemen, we are shortly about to be racing! Good start there from the Porsche. Looks like Jordy Peters takes the start, or at least initially off the line. Goes into the lead. Fredriksson still in third. 4 cars wide. Further down the field into turn 1 we go. Peters still on top. Mitchell loses a lot of ground there behind Fredriksson, at least for the moment. Now he gets ahead again. Is that the Italian guy of Pulitilio, whatever, close enough, I think, who is challenging for P2 already? Van der Kran keeping position, it looks like. I think I saw him there in the background. Still no, Van der Kran have dropped positions, it looks like. He must have been pushed wide there in turn 1. And the cars have been off there through Repsol. It looks like yellow flags definitely out on track. Jordan and Peters in the 992 in the lead seems to have buggered off a little bit away from Regan Mitchell and Dal Polito. I think I'll be calling him that. Dal Polito in P3 from the rear of Dal Polito's car. Not that I can see much behind that big Porsche spoiler. That's Tesh Fredriksson in the Lamborghini putting the pressure on. But the car actually dropping all the way down into 11th position. Missed the start. Can they restart and do it again, please? Yes, most definitely. That's just a nope. No chance. We will take you to court on that. Speaking of, 1 lap of racing have passed. The 60 minutes have definitely already come down. A 58 to go. Jordy Peters already off by 1.8 seconds in the front. Silver class led by Mini Munich. New driver with Starring behind. Further down the field, of course, Van Millis have dropped behind the 2 silver leaders. Down to 14th position. Through Repsol to go. Look how difficult it is for the car to stay close. That dirty is so intense. This is Van Liebenstein. Much more speed, but the wider line doesn't seem to help him there. Trying it on Fem Boss ahead of him. Both in Porsches. A little bit of a Porsche Cup in the top 7. With 5 of the top 7 being Porsches. Good to see the Porsches back. But maybe in 2 great numbers, it looks like. They always travel in single files to hide their numbers. Not that we'll be seeing them in single file for the rest of the race, hopefully. Catalonia is famously difficult to stay close to the cars ahead, but let's see if someone can make a move. That BMW of Carlson definitely seems to be getting close to Wolf Garcia. I think he got a better run onto that back straight. As now he did, but look at that behind. Odelman looks onto the inside of Chapel. Haven't made it through yet. Over that curving that can easily throw cars into each other, but stays contact free. And Van der Kran catches right up to the back of them as well, due to that side-by-side moment there from the 2 of them. The ultimate corner very slow. It's all about being as early on the front as possible. Who have the highest top speed? That's what it's all about now. Chugging into the slipstream. Van der Kran actually in a super good position to challenge Odelman if he doesn't run too much downforce in that Ferrari. Although the Aston does usually have a bit of a top speed and stays ahead. Van der Kran still, oh, look at this, cars all over the track basically. That Bentley have moved some progress of Lawrence driving that, who's up into 18th with Sjouk Vervaart right behind in the P19. in the THRC car. New livery on the THRC cars, though still driving the BMWs. This time going for sort of like a Gorilla green on the car. With the 74 number there, one car off the track, didn't see who that was. But surely there was someone there. Yes, we could definitely restart for the purposes of you joining the race. That would be fun. Archer now dropped to 24th in the race, the rear end so far. That wonderful pink and black McLaren with the Lexus of Patrick Trevor's right ahead. Trevor's not doing too well, that Lexus, though it does look like that have some rear end damage that could potentially be trouble for the Lexus driver, as he will have to try and make some ground through the cars. Whoa, that was that's both the Honda of Safrara and Helmholtz in the Ferrari that have gone off there. Maybe a slight contact since both cars were off, but they are back racing. Though they have fallen behind the field quite a lot by virtue of that, but surely they can catch up at this point. Still early days in the race, 5 minutes in. Van der Kran gaining on Ottoman, but I think Van der Kran is moving out to defend there from Moniak behind, who also seems to be super close up the end of Van der Kran. Moniak leading the silver class. So for Barry Moniak, it's not too important to overtake Van der Kran for the purpose of championship, or at least the championship, his main championship to compete in. But it's always fun when you're a silver driver to beat some of the pros in the overall standings. And honestly, once you start racing, you don't really think about who you're racing in class. You just want to race everyone out there on track and have as much fun as possible. As they're coming, I think that's the 18 car that might have been around again down in turn 3. It is a super difficult car to drive, you must say. And once you start getting those dirty tires, it gets even more difficult maintaining control of that car. So that might be a long evening for the Honda crew. Safsara in that car, but let's see. Maybe we'll see the Honda climbing after the pit stops, of course, because some drivers might have to do some damage repairs. And if pace can be maintained, the Honda can be a weapon on any track. As they come through turn 9, and look how much curb they're taking. Also a little bit risky doing that much curb in the Honda. Just a little bit of a tip for Miria and Safsara in that Honda car. Maybe there's a setup on the Honda that allows it to take all of the curbing going on the sausage there. Not what you want to do in any car, basically, but kept it on track. Looking out on the standings, looks like the Tess Fredriksson have started an attack on Del Polito, I think I decided to call him Del Polito, in the Porsche ahead. Meanwhile, the camera crew is slowly dying in the background, it sounds like. As Fredriksson looks close up underneath the wing. Have to stay close now. This is the point where if you can stay close through turn 9, then you do get a chance into the Emperor corner. It's a good opportunity, but once again, it's so difficult staying close enough through turn 9, because once you are there, you need all of the downforce available to the car to keep it hit in the ground. Big battle further down the field with 3 Porsches and a BMW. A little bit of contact. That's Fem Bosch von Liebenstein, Garcia, and of course Nicholas Carlson in the Beamer behind. That's in the small frame, bottom right-hand side. Big frame will still be Fredriksson and Del Polito battling for the final spot on the podium. But look at this, these 3 cars, fighter jet formation down the start-finish straight, one straight line. Let's see who have the most top speed. Going defensive already, does von Liebenstein. Into turn 1 we go, overtaking, it looks like chances for Fem Bosch on the outside of turn 1, trying to stick it in that inside becomes outside for turn 2, and Van Liemstein maintains position. Meanwhile, Carlson there behind also gaining a little bit of a run. Garcia goes wide, which means that Carlson have the chance to sneak it up on the inside into Repsol. We go. Carlson on the inside looks for the move, gets it done, it looks like, and squeezes his way through. Carlson now up into to 7th position with Boss ahead of him, demoting Garcia to 8th. Meanwhile, this time Fredriksson much closer up the rear ring of Del Polito. Let's see, through turn 9 we go once again. Both cars fully committed. This time Fredriksson with a much better run. He could potentially go for the dive into the Emperor corner. Looks for it, but goes back in. Forces Del Polito to go a little bit defensive there. Maybe tries for the old switcheroo, but not close enough for that. Meanwhile, the 4-car battle still raging. Garcia and Carlson seems to have dropped maybe 0.2 of a second to the 2 cars ahead. Meanwhile, this time Fredriksson through the 2 final corners, much closer, better line. Oh, getting that slide. That could have been the move for Fredriksson if he could have kept it in there without losing a little bit of a rear end traction. That's a big win for Del Polito as he gets a little bit of breathing room. Though Garcia this time right in the back of Carlson. Underneath the wing, getting that slipstream. Basically a drag race now into turn 1. Let's see, will Wolf Garcia go for it? Tucks in behind, goes back to the racing lines. No place to go and no overspeed there for Carlson. Oh, sorry, for Garcia. The hometown hero, I think Garcia was Mr. Consistency last season. Didn't he score only 10th places or something like that? I think it was something like that, but he was extremely consistent last season, Mr. Leonardo Wolf Garcia. I am very much Danish, Mr. Danny Wills. The Scandinavian Master and the SLMS Hypercar Champion on my card. The most humble of champions, of course. As Garcia still applies the pressure to Carlson. But look at this. Other places in the field battling also going on. That's Tej Fredriksson once again up behind Del Polito in the battle for P3. Fredriksson definitely. Ooh, that's Van der Kran who have been had a little bit of a rough turn there, and Ordelman squeezes through into 9th. Or maybe Van der Kran tried to overtake Ordelman, overshot it. That could also have been the chance there. Fredriksson still not nailing that final corner. That's why he struggles to overtake. One thing is to be quick, another thing is to overtake. Do remember that out there. You can't just force your way through, which Fredriksson knows, which is why he's just trying to figure out where he can make this move. It does look like he's about half a second quicker pace-wise, but know where to put that half a second yet. Almost a quarter of the race have passed. Garcia still giving chase to Carlson. Boss and Van Liemstein, there have been a little bit of separation between them, and Boss have dropped a little bit closer to this this battle between Garcia, sorry, to Carlos, to Garcia and Carlson. So that's basically a three-way battle at this point, with Boss trying to give chase to Liemstein about 1.2 seconds up the road, but Liemstein will be trying to chase down Fredriksson and Del Polito for much further up the road, about 4 seconds from him. Travers have made his way up into 19th position. Next man up for Travers would be Sjuk Vivart, but a still big gap between those two as well. As that green car for Garcia, I think that would be easy to recognize. Unfortunately, with the black rear end bumper, that makes it harder to spot from behind. But I think we can see that during the season quite clearly with that bright green color. This time Fredriksson with a reasonable run, but still not quite close enough to really challenge into turn 1, unless if he gets the mightiest of slingshots. Not this time around. Still giving the chase through turn 1 we go once again. Up with Fredriksson and Del Polito. Meanwhile, Regan Mitchell have also caught up massively to Jordy Peters in the front of the field also, so a battle for P1 might also be in the brewing. Just like the T in my belly. As you go through bottom right hand screen, that's the battle for P1. Main screen, that's the battle for P3. Regan Mitchell's with the fastest lap of the race so far, indicated by the purple color around his number board. The red around Fredriksson is because that we are following him at the minute on the main broadcast. This time Garcia could go for a surprise move. No, he sticks it behind. But look at the difference in turn in there for the Emperor corner. Fredriksson keeps it out to the right much longer than Del Polito, and turns in later, sharper, and maybe a little bit less turn in speed, but he surely can get more exit speed out of that style of driving. Through the final couple of corners again, this time Fredriksson very close to him, but can he keep the front on? It looks like he could. What about through the final corner? Yeah, Fredriksson in prime position for an overtake into turn 1 this time around. Can he do it? Slipstream getting closer, closing in. Is it enough? No, it doesn't look like it. Seems that Lamborghini is struggling with top end speed. Could also be the reason why Fredriksson seems so quick on the rest of the track. They just simply have better grip, but no speed to back it up. Well, this time through turn 3 into Repsol. Fredriksson goes for it inside. No, tucks in behind again. Stays behind for the downhill, so it will not be until they have gone through the back straight that another opportunity arises. Lawrence into the pits from P23. First driver to do so, and he retires from the pits. So both the Honda and the Bentley have retired. That's a little bit of a bad omen for the lesser selected cars. But let's see, this time Fredriksson is still getting very close into the Emperor corner, but still nowhere really to go with that speed. Looks like that he'll have to do it on the exit of turn 3 and into Repsol, though this time different place. Fredriksson on the inside trying to go through, hard to defend this one, but also hard to overtake. It will be a matter of traction coming out of this. Fredriksson keeps it tight on the inside. Not losing it, but what can that Porsche do? Great battle between the two of them, though De La Pito is in a great slipstream position. He will definitely be challenging into turn 1. Look at that. Oh, bumper to bumper racing. Side by side, turn 1. Here we go. Who's bravest on the brakes? Do you remember the inside becomes outside for the next one, and vice versa? Still side by side. Is it done for Fredriksson? Fredriksson goes. Remember, it can still swap around through this corner. Fredriksson have taken 3rd place. It looks like De La Pito could try far into Repsol, but no, stays behind. Fredriksson takes position up and up to the podium goes Fredriksson. Long way to chase down for the top 2 if he wants to get all the way up there to challenge for the win. 5.5 seconds, but great move from Fredriksson. Who would have thought that was a possibility to start a move there? Little bit of a mistake from De La Pito, and that's all Fredriksson needed. Just 1 centimeter of a gap, and he was there immediately. Strong drive, but very brave defending as well from De La Pito, who really didn't want to give up that position. Fought to the very end of that. Meanwhile, Regan Mitchell, Jordy Peters, and the 2 red and white cars in the front. Ferrari versus Porsche. Who can do it? Meanwhile, further down the field, that's Carlson trying for the move on Fem Boss. But it is a risky situation. He goes a little bit too wide there this time again. Same position. This time it's Garcia could go for, but tucked in behind. when you run as close as these guys, then if you miss your overtaking, then you're super vulnerable to be overtaken yourself. Odelman and Van der Kran also catching up behind to this battle pack. This time Garcia with a great run. Carlson goes defensive. Garcia tries for the move. Let's see into turn 1 what could happen. Meanwhile, behind as well, Van der Kran goes for the move on Odelman. Where to look? Garcia goes through Carlson. Same for Van der Kran on Odelman. It's not done between Carlson and Garcia, it looks like. Might be now, but both Garcia gets the position back up into 7th, and Van der Kran goes up into 9th. Super strong drive for both of them. Just 10 minutes away from the expected optimum pit stop strategy. It is time for undercuts. They could potentially start happening, and the drivers are still very close on track, so highly doubtful that even if you're a back marker, you would get into to blue flag traffic or become a blue flag car and get reduced time on that. But let's see on board with Nicholas Carlson on the BMW. So what up with the what should we call the Tesh Fredriksson line into the Emperor corner, staying wide a little bit longer before turning in, getting the car rotated quicker and getting early on the front. But Garcia, a little bit of a mistake that might allow Carlson to get close enough to try for something. Not quite, as Garcia was way better on the exit there. But let's see, will Carlson be close enough for the slipstream? History haven't proven itself for that to be a thing. Odelman into the pits, tries for the undercut on Martin van der Kran. I think Van der Kran might have had it in his mind as well to go for a CF drop to 1.3 seconds behind this group. But all focus on this three-man train. Oh, a little bit of a slide there from Carlson. You can really see how he's pushing to the absolute maximum. Running a little bit wide there as well. Maybe he's pushing it a little bit too much, does Nicholas Carlson, just to stay with the cars ahead, the two Porsches of Boss and Wolf Garcia. You have a little bit of catching up to do. Odelman actually still in the pits. He is moving now, but losing quite a bit more time than I was expecting in a pit stop around here. Carlson goes left right, but the same goes Garcia. Garcia looking to try and find a place to make a move on Boss. Meanwhile, Carlson lurking in the background. But he will know that if something goes wrong for any of the two drivers ahead, it is a free position. You want to stay close enough to take advantage, but not so close that you get involved. But this time the battle between Boss and Wolf Garcia seems to be on into turn 1. Really tucked into the slipstream. Meanwhile, Carlson coming with the double slipstream, goes behind Garcia into turn 1 side by side. Garcia for the move. Will he hang on to this one? Garcia gone through 3 wide out of turn 2. Everyone stays out of contact and their positions are maintained. I don't think it's close on this. Carlson lifting off a little bit there, not wanting to make it 3 wide once again. This time Garcia with the move. Boss a little bit to slide out, having to go defensive into the hairpin. Maintains it. Garcia tries to cut back, but Carlson almost gets a wheel in there, and I think Garcia had a second thought about that, because he might have felt that Carlson could have been in a place where they could have contacted. And again, those different lines, that seems to cause a lot of grief between the drivers. Different style of driving, as we see. Garcia almost had to go evasive action there after after Boss chose to go off the front a different place. Carlson. Just that half meter too late on the brakes. And a good reaction from Garcia, seeing that Carlson was coming, couldn't get that stop, so just switching back. Quick switcheroo there from Carlson. The switchback move was on for him. Or not for him, but for Garcia. As Carlson went too deep. Would be very interesting to see if any of these drivers would get anything out of an undercut at this point. "35 minutes to go in the race. 5 away from the pit stop window. Oh, well, the optimum pit stop window. Obviously, you could potentially, or theoretically, you could pit on the very first lap if you wanted to, or the very last. These two Porsches, even though that it's the same car, they might not be completely equal, as the setups can have been done differently. One might have gone for straight line speed, the other one for cornering speed. Suspension settings can be different. A lot of things could be advantage one car or the other in situations like this. And Van der Linden and Helmut in the bottom screen. Meanwhile, Boss and Garcia, a little bit of side by side again, but Van der Linden and Helmut battling down there. Helmut currently set in third in the silver class, and Van der Linden in fourth. So a battle for the podium for the silver drivers. This time all three in this group close together down start finish straight. We could have the same situation into turn 1 again, with Carlson getting himself into the position for the double slipstream. Meanwhile, Garcia tucks in underneath the ring. The wing of Buzz goes for it. Will be an outside move. Buzz knows how to defend this. Already side by side. Archie-barchie between the two cars. All good in racing so far. On the outside through turn 3. Can he hang on to it? Tries for it. Meanwhile, the door opens for Carlson as they almost squeeze each other off. I think Carlson will be trying for it this time around, side by side into the Repsol corner. Boss seems to deny Garcia once again, but will Garcia deny Carlson as well? Or does Carlson come for it? Oh, tucking in there just a little bit too far alongside for the switchback. Still running nose to tail, these three drivers. I'm assuming that they will box this time or next time around. Although I wouldn't mind if they just kept going like this all the way to the end. Garcia looking for it. Room is being left there from Fem Boss. Boss losing it this time, most definitely. I don't think he can hold on to this one. Wow, they're just losing out, cutting in front does Wolf. Garcia takes position, and Boss losing to Carlson as well behind, it looks like. Getting loose, but were there contact or not? That was hard to see on these camera angles. But Carlson definitely putting the pressure on. Look at that, Van der Kran all the way up behind. Carlson goes into the pits this time around, trying for the undercut on 2 other drivers. Have lost time there on the in lap, so going for it this time around. Meanwhile, Martin Van der Kran, what can he do? Started 5th in this race. Up into 8th. He is known as one of the 2 most unlucky drivers that I have ever raced against. At least looking at the getting collected in incidents numbers. I think Van der Kran is all the way up there. Same goes for the Bas van Melis further down the field. Meanwhile, Van der Kran looks to the inside of Fem Boss. Goes for Boss with a little bit of a bad corner this time around through Repsol. On the outside goes Van der Kran. He will have tried to cut this one back to make the move stick, but difficult place to do because the run is not so long before the next corner, and you really don't want to be side by side down here. There was a brief yellow on track somewhere still going on. That's Bart Van Melis that's causing that, the number 11 car of mode 11. Surely that must have dropped him some positions. But let's see, next time he crosses a timing sector. You have dropped behind Shellikins, it looks like, which means that he must have dropped to 13th. Just a few positions, but that's still more than he wanted to, at least. Halfway point of the race reached in about 20 seconds. I think the reason why the very top guys don't go into the pits now is because they are a little bit concerned about getting into traffic. Remember, if you're not overtaking anyone with a lap, they don't have to get out of the way for you. And that's Boss who comes into the pits. I think Van der Kran followed him. Yeah, Van der Kran also comes in. Fredrickson, Van Liebenstein, Garcia into the pits as well. Boss and Van der Kran comes here. So basically the entirety of the upper midfield starring as well in the 303 BMW. We can just see that in the background. Have entered into the pits also. Chapel stays out. Nurburgring stays out as well. A few more comes in the background. Bas Van Melis gets in. Parties as well. Can definitely tell that we've reached the halfway point of the race. Optimum time to come in, and for a lot of the drivers it was on the exact half-hour mark. Basically, they came into to pit lane. They will have to be stationary for 30 seconds, as it takes 30 seconds to change the tires of these cars. So they are dropping quite far back, but they will, I think, come out ahead of the race leaders, Melis, into the pits. Boss is rolling. Garcia as well. Garcia massively ahead of Fem Boss, it looks like. Van der Kran rolling. Yeah, Garcia really gained a lot on that pit stop. Yeah, let's just get some random rain added at this point. Jordy Peters comes in from the race lead, leaving Regan Mitchells out there to hot lap. But yeah, Wolf Garcia quite far up. Odelman also gaining massive on that pit stop round. He took the pit stop early, and he's actually third of the drivers who have stopped, and we are only expecting Mitchells, Peters, and Del Polito to come out ahead of this group. So Odelman seems to be the big winner of the pits. Same for Garcia, gaining a lot of room to Fem Boss at least. Only a second to Carlson though, but Fem Boss must have had damage that he repaired there as well. Meanwhile, Patrick Treffers and Shukvivard battling it out. The Lexus dived into the pits. Vivard stays out on track, which very likely will promote him to P2, at least for the time being, as he overtakes Peters, who comes out of pit lane there behind. That could be Peters' worst nightmare if he catches up to Vivard before Vivard comes into the pits. That will really play into the hands of Regan Mitchells. But let's see, there's a big gap between them, and it's not that likely that Peters manages to catch all the way up to Vivard before this lap. But again, no guarantees that Vivard jumps into pit lane. Chapel into P2 in the all-black Lamborghini. Regan Mitchells takes it this time around. He does answer to the call of the pits. Let's see if Chapel will do the same in the Lamborghini. One of just two Lambos. Also a little bit surprised to see that. Most surprising is to see the amount of Porsches and BMWs, to be honest, but at least reasonable mix. Same goes for McLaren. That kind of also seems to drop a bit popularity in recent time, but it doesn't. He stays out. He goes for the glory run to take the lead of the race. I do like that from Chapel. Provisionally first place for Chapel here at Stick with the Catalunya. I think he's praying that a new rule got invented that there could be red flags. That's Jordy Peters who made the move on his Shukvivard. no matter what, he would have lost time on having to make that move. But where will he come out in relation to Regan Mitchells? Mitchells is rolling in pit lane. This could be tight. Mitchells out of the pit, but look at that. Jordy Peters actually goes through, or will he? Close enough. He does go through. Vard stays out. Mitchells actually slots in behind Regan Mitchells there, or sorry, behind the Suzuka Vard there. So we sort of do get a little bit of a picture of how it's standing. Also for Liebenstein, big winner on that pit. They have overtaken Del Polito as well, so it's von Liebenstein who have gone into provisional 4th at the minute. But yeah, Peters might have played this correctly as he got out there, but Mitchell's already passed Suzuka Vard and back on the chase to Jordy Peters. That Lion Speed Porsche could be hard to catch. The thing is not to catch it for Regan Mitchells. The thing will be to make the overtake and make it stick. That can be hard. Further down, Van der Kraan on Dem Boss. Close together. Manmoniak also gaining big on that pit stop as he's up behind Nicholas Carlson. Will probably go up 4 places from where he stands at the minute, so that's 1 position net gain, I think, if not 2, from the 51 car. Chapel goes in, leaving Shelikins out there in the front. We have seen Mick Shelikins do that quite, leaving it as late as possible. It is an advantage being in clean air. You don't really have to find anyone, you can pace yourself, and that might be what Mick Shelikins is going for out there in front. But Van der Kraan in the Ferrari, the 296 Ferrari to be more precise. And now people think, but it says 253 next to his name. Yeah, the 296 is the car model, while the 253 would be his racing number. But could he potentially do this? It is early in the championship, but this could be important later on for Van der Kraan, because if he keeps up the pace that he has shown so far here in round 1, both in the race pace have been pretty good, I would say. But that qualifying, that could be a big thing later on in the season. If he can find these magical laps, then he could potentially be on for a super championship result. Definitely worth keeping an eye on for the next couple of rounds, whether or not that Van der Kraan can keep up the pace. The reason why we're not speaking about the pace of Boss are because it's more expected of a driver like Fem Boss and Wolf Garcia and these drivers to be up here. Where for Van der Kraan, I think it's a newfound pace he found here over the summer. Maybe a little bit of a vacation was all he needed. Other people might say that maybe all he needed was love, love, love. All you need is love. I'm being told the camera crew was not very pleased with the singing, but please don't tune away just because of the bad song. I promise I will not do that again. Well, to be honest, I can't promise that, but we'll see. Maybe not anymore this evening, at least. Voices in my head, we already mentioned that like 20 minutes ago. Yes. Voice in my head, you were sat right where you are at the minute, this small shed. It's actually a little bit too cozy in here. Maybe we could find it in the budget to expand the shed at some point and get heating in. It will be a very cold winter. Yeah, let's do that. Let's do that. People don't know what we're talking about out there, but they probably think it's really funny. Anyway. Moniak, one of the new drivers in the championship. Del Polito as well. Del Polito being the currently best placed driver of the rookies. We should probably call them in the championship. Up there in P5, running in P5 at the minute. Really strong performance so far. Racing against Tish Frederiksen. There's not many drivers who does it. Meanwhile, look at that. Frederiksen actually gaining quite a bit on both Regan Mitchell and Jordy Peters. Up there, he was 5.5 behind before the pit stop round. Now he's just 2.2 behind Regan Mitchell's and 1.6 more from Regan Mitchell's and up to Jordy Peters. Maybe not that massive of a time game to Jordy Peters, but the gap to Regan Mitchell's have dropped to 2.2. But Del Polito at least coming around for a strong opening performance. Same for Moniak, who's currently leading the silver class. Starring new drivers will in P12 for second place in the silvers. Campbell, first time we see him as well. I think we have seen both Archer and Misha Melis. And the rest of them also seems somewhat familiar, at least in my mind. It's in my head. No singing, no singing. Further down the field, the old THRC livery on that BMW with a Ferrari next to it. I think that's Helmut and at least in the Ferrari, and then Iron van der Linden in the other car. Isn't that supposed to be a Sim Racing Holland livery then? But don't they both do that? It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. It's the THRC BMW of Iron van der Linden against the Prego Racing of Randy Helmut. Dutch name at least. Maybe we get some explanation how that's pronounced at some point. And the 13 car, unlucky for some. Into the Emperor car. Do you like the way that yellow is put on the car? Not a big fan of the red rims though. Makes it a little bit too cartoony for my liking. Looks like a Hot Wheels. But the yellow trim is quite nice. Makes it visible. Personally, I'm a big fan of white rims for the people out there wanting to please the commentary team. White rims are cool. But tucked underneath the wing, down the front straight we go with Helmut. Not quite close enough to Iron van der Linden ahead. But let's have a good think about how this could happen for the Ferrari driver. We do know the Ferrari is really strong under braking and aero-wise. It does have some strange acceleration in the gearing and is a little bit off-putting for some drivers. Another Ferrari in battle would be Martin van der Kraan, who was still yet to pass Fem Bus ahead of him for a position in the top 10. Get back down to a second between Peters and Mitchells. Meanwhile, Frederiksen have lost a little bit of time, not too much, about half a second over the last couple of laps. With just over a quarter of the race to go here in round one at Circuit de Catalunya. This would be a great time to promote a thing, like hitting the like button and subscribe button and the bell button for notifications for when we go live. Yes, I had to make a voice for that. Everyone knows it's all about the voice. No, not the evil twin Chris. I thought we agreed that he was not allowed in the shed. I can try and invite him for when we go back in 2 weeks' time, but no guarantees that he can find time in his schedule. Yellow flag was out again. I think that was Bas van Mellis again. Suffering a bit with the BMW, does Bas. Maybe it's hard to get used to driving a Beamer from in comparison to the Ford Mustang from last season. Not a great day for Bas van Mellis in the racing office. But he will definitely be a driver who will bounce back when we go racing in 2 weeks' time. Bas is not a driver to give up easily, at least. He have also been around for quite a few seasons. I honestly, well, I think there was a season that he did race. Because of time reasons and the personal matters and stuff like that. But besides that, I actually think that he have raced all seasons, maybe apart from that one so far. With mixed results, of course. Maybe at some point we could ask Bas what his all-time highest have been. I know that he have been in the top 10 sometimes, and I think he have won the silver championship as well. Yeah, he did win the silver. Oh, I think it was the semi-pro championship actually he won. Or was that a Sunday league? I think it was the Tuesday evening race. Definitely was. Yeah, it most definitely was a semi-pro championship, and I do think I think that Bas hadn't won a single race in semi-pro class win until the final round of the season, where he didn't even need the win to win the semi-pro. It would have been funny if he won the championship without having won a class, or having won a single race in class, because he is usually a very consistent driver, the Dutchman. Some might say a flying Dutchman. Aha, reference. From the rear wing of Meano Moniac, looking at no, that's not Meano Moniac. That's yeah, that is Meano Moniac. We are looking from the rear wing at, down on the battle with Bas and Van der Kraan in the big picture, and in the small picture that is Regan Mitchell, who have caught up to Jordy Peters once again for 13 minutes of straight battling for the race win here in round 1. To take home the 25 points and the points lead when we go racing at Suzuka in 2 weeks' time. Suzuka is a much different experience to Catalunya. Suzuka, that's a more narrow track. The speeds are quite a bit higher, and you have the S's early on. You have 130R, you have Spoon, you have a lot of famous corners, the Casio Triangle. Also I think the only figure of 8 track on pro level. Definitely the only one that we are racing at here on Simsport Racing International. for a long time at least, but yeah, that is a truly wonderful track. Super technical. We also almost forgot about the deckness and the hairpin, and just a great track tuned in 2 weeks' time. That's a track that lends itself well to the closeness of racing. Good overtakes, good battling, especially 130R in these cars. That is a menacing corner. That small lift before turning in. So do a little bit of brake tap as well, just to get the car into the corner. If you miss it just by 10 centimeters, then you're running wide, risking the car spinning out, risking the track warning. Such a high risk, high reward corner. And lifting off too much, then you're super vulnerable before the extremely hard braking zone into the Casio Triangle. It's just a great track. Also a favorite for many of the drivers to lap around Suzuka, because it's such a challenging track as well. But 11 minutes to go now. Regan Mitchell, he will start to have to think a little bit faster about how he will get that overtake done on Jordy Peters. Meanwhile, Van der Kran behind Boss as well. Drive-through penalty for parties for track cuts. That means that he will have to drive through the pit lane with the pit limiter activated. Down to a staggering 60 kilometers per hour. Doesn't sound so bad, but when you're considering that you're going above 200 on the straight, then it's not that nice to be stuck at 60. Way above 200 even. I honestly can't remember how quick these GT3s are going. Isn't it like 270 maybe on top? I think around that that ballpark. But yeah, both battles seem super tight. Both battles with a Ferrari and a Porsche, though not the same model of Ferrari in the battles. Regan Mitchell still holding the fastest lap of the race. Also a testament to the pace that Regan have had. We did have to see him chase down Jordy Peters in the first stint, after he got overtaken early on Mitchell's, and then we had to see him as well here in the second stint. And that bad start for Regan that sure have cost him today. But we have traditionally also seen the Porsches being really good on launch. Bird supporting Jordy out there. Supporting the Porsche driver. No release. Which means that there are people out there using YouTube, and do remember, if you have questions, then you can post them in the YouTube chat, and we'll try and answer them as soon as we see them. If they are not answered, then you can go write a message me on Discord and put in my DMs, and I'll try and get it into the stream next time around. Though not any questions go. As we see the car of the DT coming out there between P1 and P2. Now he lifts off and lets Mitchells stay behind. Though Mitchells have lost a little bit there to Jordy Peters in P1. Looks like that Tesh have dropped all of his pace behind. So he will likely not be a threat for the remainder of this race. I wonder what made Mitchells choose this car. Honestly, I think it would be a reasonably strong car on a Suzuka. I think the older Ferrari sort of say would compete well, but that is also a strong track for the Porsches. Big handling track Suzuka. Even though the speeds are high, you still need all of the downforce and the mechanical grip that you could possibly get through the tighter, twistier parts of the track, especially through the S's early on. But again, Mitchells with a horrendous launch onto the start-finish straight in comparison to Jordy Peters. It is difficult to be behind coming out of that corner because you are so close to each other. The other car, even though it's just one car length ahead of you, he can still put on the throttle so much earlier and then make the gap separation. So you do really sort of rely on the car ahead just missing that acceleration or the turn in for the penultimate corner just by a tiny bit, so you can get the smallest of advantages onto the start-finish straight that keeps you just in range of that mighty slipstream. It looks close for Van der Kran, but the camera angle also often tricks us out when it's the smaller screen. As they go flying into turn 1 once again. Through turn 9 though for the two race leaders. Not many times more they will have to do that. I wonder if Regan Mitchells at this point have stretched his sword. No, that's not the saying in English. Definitely not. Put it back in the build. The sword. Not the other thing that you could put back in the build. Might have thrown in the towel. I think that's a little bit of a better saying. Oh, we'll just settle for P2, maybe not pushing too much at this point and knowing it's early in the season. It might just be wiser taking the points in a comparison to going to the moon and beyond, but with the car. Performance-wise, 3 laps I assume at this point to go. For the two race leaders, comes under the Repsol bridge. Bruno comes though. Martin van der Kant doesn't seem to be too set with his position though. It's roughly the same distance every time between van der Kant and Boss. Boss have just been driving so consistently. He seems to be bowing out when a car launches him and making sure to leave enough room every time and not pushing anything there. And that's where he have lost, but Boss, when you've been driving without being challenged for direct, or at least challenged directly for position, then he have been super consistent and not missed any corner at all. And that might be the reason why Van der Kran is struggling catching up to Boss, at least maintaining the close distance through the final couple of corners, which is super crucial for overtakes. Obviously, as I said, that Boss just missed a corner, put 2 wheels in the grass, but commentator's curse, I guess. Let's see if we can curse someone else to do something funny. Surely Fredriksson could never win this race. Let's see if it works. As he goes into frame from P3. I tell you what, Archer and Trevor's also rather close further down the field with Vivada and Michemelis also in that line of cars. That's really coming down to the wire, it looks like. For these 4. 2.5 minutes to go. Hopefully we don't miss anything for the lead. Doesn't look like it, as that gap have been consistent, but look at this bubble of cars. Why endurance lights inboard? I think that means on board in daylight. Well, I would run endurance lights as well to psych out my opponents, basically. And look at that, that's Archer with the move on Trevor's there through the Emperor corner, and Les Archer goes up to 18th position and demotes Patrick Trevor's down into to 19th. Great move it looked like. Let's see if Archer can hold on. They are just about to be left by the 2 race leaders, so they will have this one and one more lap. Meanwhile, the leaders go on to the final lap as they cross the line now. The race is over when the time runs out, and then the first time the leader crosses the line after the time runs out, the checkered flag comes out, and then they basically race to the checkered. Well, then they do race to the checkered, not basically, but that's what they're doing. Can Patrick Treffers get this position back? Remember, he does have this lap and one more to go for this. Oh, he's pushing it. He's really pushing it, but is he pushing too much? With Vard also looking a little bit for the move inside-outside, making sure that that Treffers knows that he's there. This is great racing here at this end of the field as well. And Misha Melis just there in the background, just lurking, seeing if anything will happen. Meanwhile, Van der Kant this time could go for the move. Into turn 1 we go. Final lap for these two guys. Van der Kant goes for it, semi at least. Gets denied by Fembot. That was the opportunity there for Martin. Van der Kant, meanwhile, for Fart almost running into the back of Treffers there. Having to bail out, losing the position to Misha Melis. Meanwhile, Jordy Peters comes through, and he does not have time to slow down, so he will have to try and put a lap on these guys. As many of them as possible, so Fafard will not get the extra lap in this one. He will end the race when he comes across the start-finish line, but the three drivers ahead of Archer Treffers and Misha Melis, they will have to go one more, unless if Misha lets Jordy go through here. Doesn't look like it. Misha goes for one more lap. But Jordy Peters wins ahead of Regan Mitchell. Tesh Fredrickson confirmed third. Van der Kant, one more opportunity, not quite there. Von Liebstein, driver of the day, in my opinion, goes into to finishing fourth. Great run from him. Hippolyte to come in fifth, and Odelman likely to take that sixth, though it is quite close between Odelman, Garcia, and Carlson, as well as they come across the line, all three of them. Odelman in sixth, Garcia 7th, and Carlson 8th. Manmoniak seems to be winning the silver class, goes across the line to win it, and oh, look at that, Van der Kant and Boss close across the line. That nerve from Boss when you come out of that final corner the final time, that have often gotten me as well. Meanwhile, close battling here for secondary positions. This is for 12th. Starring and Chapel, new drivers in the championship. And Starring does take P2 in silver class. Chapel finishing 13th overall. Iron van Linden still not safe for the final spot on the podium in the silvers. Bas van Melis horrendous day on the office, comes home in 15th. 3 years ago, I think he would have been happy with that. So close between these drivers. I think this is the first time that Iron van Linden in a long time have been racing a full race without getting involved in some silly incident that he usually wasn't at fault in. But it goes across the line, and that must have been a great battle throughout. They have been almost glued to each other. Drivers comes across the start-finish line. Let's see if any drivers comes in for interviews here after the race. They are obviously more than welcome to do so. Doesn't matter where you finished. Do have preference to the top 3, of course, but great race from everyone involved. This could be the time where we do a little bit of commercials for the upcoming seasons again, Mr. Hill. And the following races here, so next in Tuesday, 2 weeks time, we'll be back racing here. That's at least the race that we guarantee will be done, but that would be Suzuka that will comes on. But I think that was it for us this evening. It's been a long rough one. As you can maybe hear my voice, I'm a little bit sore in my throat. Same goes for our camera crew who have been coughing constantly throughout. I think is the word looking for. He haven't had a sip of the magic coughing juice. But I am Oliver Anderson, Mr. One of Oliver. It's been a pleasure taking you through round 1 of the 11th season of the SSRI Tuesday Night Sprint Championship. Behind the cameras, as always, have been Grandpa Chris Hill. Until we see again in 2 weeks' time for the second round at Suzuka. Bye-bye.